Okay, now I figured out what to do with the storage on this new phone. It's a couple of weeks I had the phone now. Still learning how to use it, and that's okay. I wanted to talk about today in Jewish history, and also perhaps the message that this day in Ashkenazic Jewish history, particularly the history of the city of Worms in Germany, which was the probably one of the most respected positions and communities at the time in Germany and throughout the Ashkenazic Jewish world and throughout the Jewish world in general. Very prominent Jewish community from where my ancestry comes from, going back, several centuries. Before they went to Hungary, that's where part of the family came from, and particularly one of my favorite of my ancestors, who I revere and venerate very much, is the Chavos Yair, who briefly served as the chief rabbi there, but lived there before serving as chief rabbi for a number of years as well, and both when his father was the rabbi there and just kind of, as a private citizen, as a resident scholar, but not any official position, but a well-respected rabbi in the community and throughout the world, In any event, the Chavos Yair mentions in his Sefer Makor Chaim briefly, which anyway, that's the Sefer that was not published until very recently. About 30 years ago was when it was finally published. He mentions that this day, Erev Rosh Chodesh Shvat, was the Tainus Tzibor in Worms. And then there's another Sefer that also was published by Mechon Yerushalayim, as was Makor Chaim, called Minhagi Vermiza, the customs of the community in Worms. And it was published also with notes on the bottom of the page, most of which were written by the Chavos Yair as well. The Sefer itself was written by Rabbi Yosef Shamish, Rabbi Yosef Mansbach, and who wrote many very interesting svarim, and he, preserved the particular customs of the community in Worms, which Chavos Yair in the Shalos and Shuvas Chavos Yair very famously discussed questions about, the necessity and the religious requirement to continue following certain customs, which was also, a matter of dispute at different times in history. But this particular day was maintained even after some controversy to be a fast day, and in any event, there's two reasons to fast. One is it's during the days of Shovavim, and the other is that it's Erev Rosh Chodesh, and those are both customary times to fast anyway. Erev Rosh Chodesh is usually called Yom Kippur Katan, and there's special liturgy for Yom Kippur Katan. But in addition to that, in addition to the Slichas for Shovavim, there in Worms they said more Slichas on this day, and they treated it like a full Tainus Tzibor, including reading Vaychal and the Haftarah by Mincha. So it was taken very seriously, and it was followed by, on Rosh Chodesh Shvat, a particular, having a bigger Suda to celebrate. And that's really what it's all about, was what happened in, I think, about 1625. So it's before the Chavos Yair was born. He was born in 1639. And 1625, thereabout, no, I'm sorry, I got about 1615, rather. 1615, the Jews of Worms were expelled and then later welcomed back. And the story, really, it's must have happened earlier. I guess they must have been expelled, exiled from their homes for about 10 months. They're about 11 months, because the story started on Pesach. And it's interesting that during Passover, the claim was, there was a procession in town, in the Christian community, in honor of Good Friday. And certain members of the church were claiming that the Jewish community were desecrating or insulting the Good Friday procession. And the threat was to kill the entire Jewish community on account of this insult. And what happened eventually was that there were 2 Jewish guests in town for Yontiv. And their names are not even recorded, but it was customary on the 7th day of Passover to recite a special yizkor for these 2 men who offered their lives, confessed to this crime, even though no one actually did it, in order to save the entire Jewish community of Worms. So instead of the community, and so that was commemorated on the 7th day of Passover. Instead of the community being decimated, it was temporarily exiled, and then they were returned. I believe it was on Rosh Chodesh Shvat. So 10, 11 months later, 10 months later, 9 months later, whatever it was. And so to commemorate this, the day before Rosh Chodesh Shvat, they had a fast day, and then on Rosh Chodesh Shvat they had a minor celebration to remember their return home, and their return to the place where they wanted to be, is how it's expressed in as it's written there. The point of this, bringing this up, is showing the resilience. Like President Trump will often say, the unbreakable spirit of the Jewish people. That how we were able to survive throughout exile was, it wasn't by taking up arms, it wasn't through violence, it was through patience and careful calculation, wisdom, occasionally martyrdom on behalf of other people, and respect, and trying to correct any wrongs or any perceived wrongs. And I think that's a message for our current time that we should reflect on this day, whether or not one is fasting today or reciting Slichas or anything else, or Yom Kippur Katan. A lot of people like to, if they want to make pilgrimages to graves of tzaddikim, of our Jewish saints, they would do that on the eve of Rosh Chodesh often, especially this Rosh Chodesh that, according to Beis Shammai, is a shtickle Rosh Hashanah. So there's certain koyach in this Rosh Chodesh. So we just have to embrace this and remember it, and in this chus, God should have mercy on us, that we should have restoration in all things, on a personal level, national level, and there should be no more violence and no more suffering. So God should have mercy on us and give us everything we need. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe. Comment. We'll see you later.